Jackson State accomplished something it had not since 1996. On the same day, Colorado accomplished something it hadn't since Rashawn Salam. And I think we got to talk about the prime effect as it basically has spanned the last 4 years and what we can learn from that and what we can take from that. What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and like this video so that you don't miss any of the segments that we upload here to the YouTube channel where we have 122,000 subscribers. It is a huge community. It's a growing community. It's a beloved community, and I would love for you to be a part of it as we talk about college football 24/7, 365. I'm here doing this because I really love it, and I love telling these stories, and I love giving these opinions, but I think we need to start with a unique Saturday, a unique day, December 14th, for Colorado football, for Jackson State football, and for the sport as a whole. So Jackson State won the Celebration Bowl, which gives it its first black college football national championship since 1996. This is significant because even with Coach Prime as head coach and with Shedeur as quarterback and Travis Hunter playing on that Jackson State squad, they weren't able to accomplish that goal. They were able to win a bunch of football games, a ton of football games, won SWAC championships, right? Had gone through seasons undefeated. They get to the Celebration Bowl and they can't make it happen. South Carolina State famously comes back to get this one, and then you have a failed two-point conversion that prevents Jackson State from winning. South Carolina State, they showed up and they won. And then you have Prime go to Colorado, and within 2 years, he has turned the program around. They win 9 games for the first time since 2016, and they have a Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter, and they're probably going to have 2 first-round players coming out of Colorado for the first time in some time in Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. On top of this, now Deion Sanders gets to say that he has more Heisman winners than Dabo Swinney, Ryan Day, Steve Sarkisian, Kalen DeBoer, and Kirby Smart. We could add to that list with guys like Dan Lanning, James Franklin, but we don't need to, right? The point is made here. I think the other thing you could take in is that his effect is lasting. So he gets to Jackson State. It's in a lull. It's not in a very good place, right? It's not a winning football program. Certainly it's not harkening back to its traditions with, even going back to the days of Sweetness, going back to the days of John Merritt, going back to the days of, red accents, WC. Look, I can wax poetic about what Jackson State was in the 90s for me. Same thing with Alcorn State, because I was going to a bunch of these football games when I was a kid. But Jackson State football was only great when I was a kid, like those early 90s years where it felt like they could do no wrong. And then as I went away, it went away. And you saw FAMU kind of make the comeback, kind of come up, but that were in the MEAC before they moved to the SWAC here recently. And then you saw Prime come in to be a head coach for the first time at Jackson State. For those of y'all who don't know, this man had never been a head coach anywhere, period. And he wanted to get into coaching college football. He wanted to start at Florida State, where he starred as a defensive back and Thorpe Award winner and one of the greatest college football players of all time. He was denied that opportunity in large part because he didn't have any experience as a head coach and also because he didn't have an undergraduate degree. Folks at Jackson State heard that he wanted to get into coaching. They had a vacancy and they said, hey, look, we can't give you a degree, but we know where you can get one. So they sent him to Talladega, where he finished their adult accelerated program in August 2020, and he became the head coach at Jackson State in September 2020. COVID hits, but in the spring, they're playing ball. They go 4-3. It's a decent start, right? It's a decent start with Jalen Jones and them, and you got Shedeur still sitting back and waiting. You get to 2021's regular season, and they show out. You get to 2022, and they're still showing out. And after that year, it was becoming clear that Prime was ready to take another move and take the fam with him. So Shiloh, Shedeur, and Travis all going up there to Colorado after having basically played outstanding football. I mean, you got FCS All-Americans and guys like Aubrey Miller and guys like James Houston, to say nothing of what he put in place when T.C. Taylor got to see it all come into fruition. Because Taylor was on that staff in 2019, and he had played wide receiver at Jackson State. He bled Jackson State. D.I. Love. He believed before there was anything to believe, honestly. And when Prime left to be the head coach of Colorado, he was very loud and adamant that T.C. Taylor should be the head coach at Jackson State. That is the man that needs to do this job, and he is perfectly positioned to do it now. They go 7-4 in his first season, and this year they go 12-2. They put together what I think is the best season by a Jackson State football team this century. And I don't think Prime would disagree with that, because they were able to win this Celebration Bowl, a thing that had eluded Coach Prime and these players for so long. And frankly, if they win this game in the Alamo Bowl, it will be the first bowl game that he has won as a head coach. And I think that is significant and that is cool. And now that we're thinking about what Colorado might be going forward with guys like JuJu Lewis joining up, and who knows who they're going to be able to pull out of the transfer portal, what found money they're going to get or not get, I think it's time to have a good long conversation about just who is making this a bigger argument than it needs to be. I find that when I talk about Colorado, there are two kinds of people. There are the people that 100% are on Colorado's team, Coach Prime's team, have been here all along, they are loud about it. And then there are people that just are tired of hearing about it. To which I say, I was tired of hearing about Tim Tebow. But I was listening to y'all talk about Tim Tebow. Not because I like y'all, but because I want to hear y'all talk about Tim Tebow so I can call y'all stupid. He won the Heisman Trophy, right? Florida was really great at the time. There's all sorts of ways in which you could pick apart what Tim Tebow was doing, and I did, right? Like many others. But when you have a program or players or coaches that are this polarizing, you gotta embrace it. Pick a side. I don't care which side you pick, right? Pick a side, because this is where the conversation is going. And now that you know you have a head coach who is capable of absolutely 100% winning at the FCS and Power 4 level, like Prime, with little coaching experience, you're probably going to see more guys that try to do this. But it hasn't worked out, right? So Eddie George is still at Tennessee State trying to make it happen. You know, great dude, but just hasn't been able to do it the way that Prime's been able to do it. And there's reasons for that, right? Not the least of which is Prime is a CEO head coach. You don't see that man with a play card. You don't see that man calling plays. He understands what he sees. He knows what's going on. But he's letting his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator make the play calls and design the scheme and do what assistants are supposed to do. He wants to run it like an NFL franchise while also saying, hey, we're not paying everybody to come here. You're going to come here because you want to come here. So that there's some buy-in from the players. Because if you don't have buy-in from the players and you're just paying them, there's nothing for them to practice for. There's nothing for them to compete for. They're going to be assured of playing. That's the difference between, I think, what college football is right now and what the NFL is. You're going to pay players in the NFL because you have to. And they may or may not show up and be professionals and play. Some of them can still be childish, right? I remember when Brandon Marshall wanted a contract extension, he was just batting down balls that they were throwing him in practice, or Antonio Brown being stupid, just acting out. I shouldn't say being stupid, acting out because you're not getting what you want. That is coming to college football, if it isn't already there, but if you can weed it out in the recruiting process, you will. The fact that Prime was able to flip Travis Hunter from Florida State to Jackson State and win with Jackson State and win with him in Colorado and then grow him up into a Heisman Trophy winner as the first for real two-way player to ever play, because Charles Woodson gets that moniker, but he didn't really play that many snaps offensively. Played a bunch of snaps defensively, played a bunch of special teams, but he didn't really play both ways like that. They put him out there when they had to put him out there. So as we're talking about what Prime has done, I think we also need to take a look at what Jackson State has become, because that's not always the way that it goes. When a coach chooses to pick up and leave, usually that program goes into the toilet. And that didn't happen at Jackson State, at a place where it could have. Resources might not have been there. T.C. Taylor might not have been the choice, but he definitely was. And he was able to build a program around his image off of things that he learned from the coaches that he had worked for. And now Jackson State is the class of HBCU football, and Colorado is the team with the most upside going into the 2025 season, and that is without Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders returning to play next year. Feels like Prime might just be getting started.